My name is John Pasfield, and the title of this reading will be L.M. Montgomery, Video 19, Anthems Part 1. And here is the novel. L.M. Montgomery, I Gave You Life, a novel by John Pasfield. A photograph of the author, L.M. Montgomery, the Canadian author of Anne of Green Gables, in about the year 1938. In 1938, with another world war looming and her own personal problems threatening to overwhelm her, acclaimed Canadian author L.M. Montgomery begins to write what she has decided will be her final Anne novel. As she works on the new book, she recalls the days when Anne of Green Gables became a worldwide literary phenomenon and the dilemma that she faced at that time, whether to write a series of novels in which Anne would perpetually remain the child the world had come to know and love, or to allow Anne to grow to adulthood with all the agonizing torments of the one who had given her life, L.M. Montgomery. So if you have a child, you might wonder whether you want the child to grow up into an adult world, which sometimes causes pain and agony, but you have no choice. If you write a character, create a character in a book, you do have that choice, or at least L.M. Montgomery had that choice. Okay, so 3 novels are being talked about here. L.M. Montgomery, I Gave You Life is my novel. L.M. Montgomery is a character in my novel. In 1938, she sits down to write a novel in which Anne will be a character for the final time. This turns out to be Anne of Ingleside, and it takes 16 chapters in my novel for her to write the book. She begins it in chapter 1, she finishes it in chapter 16. While writing the novel, she thinks back to the days when this book, her first novel, Anne of Green Gables, had just come on the market, had become a worldwide phenomenon. The publisher had asked her would she be willing to write more Anne novels, and gave her that choice. Do you keep the cute, well, maybe not cute, but anyway, the effervescent, attractive young girl in a child's world where all the problems are child's problems and can be solved, or do you let her grow into an adult world where many of the problems are much deeper and darker and cannot necessarily be solved? So that is the situation in my novel. Now, I assume that every writer has a set of personal, technical terms by which to guide the writing of a novel or a novella. I know that I thought of the term anthems, but I'm sure I did not invent the image function which it performs. I would say that the most famous, the best anthem in all of the literature of which I'm aware is one by Shakespeare. After I read the anthems in my novel, I will tell you what that anthem is and mention a few others that Shakespeare employed, no matter by what personal technical terms he thought of them. There are 12 anthems in my novel, and in this presentation I will read the 4 anthems which are embedded in chapters 1 to 5 of the thoughts of the main character. So these are imagery in the mind of the main character at a subconscious level. Let's go to page 4. First of all, here it is. She never thought of herself as an orphan. Page 10 we go to. For the second verse. Conceived without parents and sent to earth. Then we go to page 18. And Achilles without an Achilles heel. And then 26. No fear of the hammer or the knife. And then 34, the last one of 5. Not one flutter of the heart in all her days. Now that's imagery at the subconscious level of the mind of L.M. Montgomery. And it's commenting on the life that she has lived and is living. Okay, page 5 for another one. Here we are. Wherever as would go, the sun would shine. Now, as is A-Z for Canadians and A-Z for Americans, okay, the letter. Wherever as would go, the sun would shine. Okay, then we go to page 11. Here we are. To as, A-Z, A-Z, the sunshine always felt like rain. Then we go to page 19. Wherever za would go, the rain would fall. That's Z-A or Z-A for Americans, right? Wherever za would go, the rain would fall. And then we go to 27. To za, Z-A or Z-A, the rain always felt like sun. And then 35, for the last one, people wondered whether as and za were twins. Okay, well, two entities there. And in the surface of the novel, you might say you have Ellen Montgomery and you have Anne. So, like, what's the imagery, the subconscious imagery suggesting about the life itself? Okay, let's do another one. Page 7. Here we are. She was thrust into the world inside out. As far as she knew, she had been that way since birth. Then page 14. How'd you get that way? Someone asked. Are you a circus performer or an acrobat? Then from 14, we go to 22. The tough shell of her hide was where her inside should have been. The soft and tender, defenseless core was facing out. Okay, then to 30. The village children would throw stones at her and poke her with a stick. And then from 30, we go to 37, and spilling over to 38. Oh, how she wished that the outside was in and the inside was out. So just an image of a very sensitive individual having great difficulty just living in the normal everyday world. Let's go to another one. This is page 7 as well. These are spread out because they're at intervals in her thoughts. She has 16 chapters of thought, Ellen Montgomery, the main character, does. And these are almost like beacons along a road, I suppose, or along a hillside. They're commenting on the imagery that I'm not reading, but that is in the mind of the main character. Okay, so here's another one. There was a certain water nymph was born into the sea. Then 15. One night the moon affected her, and so on land she came. 23. But no one found she waiting, no great love encountered she. 31. But now her gills had lungs become, a nymph no more was she. And then 38:9. Oh, woe is me, I don't know what I am. So a transition there from what to what. Well, the last line is, I don't know what I am. Okay, now, my definition of the technical literary term anthem is simply a short verse that contains an idea or a theme against which to measure all of the other imagery in a play, a novel, or a novella. I would say that not only the most famous, but the best anthem in all of literature is this song by Shakespeare. Fear no more the heat of the sun, nor the furious winter's rages. Thou thy worldly task hast done. Home art gone, and taken thy wages. This is a verse which is placed in the text of the Shakespeare play Cymbeline. In an anthem, the characters in the verse are not the same as the characters in the play, but the ideas that are expressed in the anthem, the themes that are expressed in the anthem, encourage a viewer or a reader of a play to think a little more deeply about the characters and the actions of the play. Here's another example from Shakespeare. How should I, your true love, know from another one? By his cockle hat and staff, and his sandal shoes. He is dead and gone, lady, he is dead and gone. At his head, a green grass turf, at his heels, a stone. This is the song that Ophelia sings when she's lost her father, who's been killed inexplicably to her by the man that she had hoped eventually to marry, Hamlet, the Prince of Denmark. The themes that are expressed in the anthems, though none of the characters and situations are those of the play, cause one to think a little more deeply about the characters and the actions of the play, in this case Hamlet. A third example of an anthem would be this from Shakespeare. The poor soul sat singing by a sycamore tree. Sing all a green willow. Her hand on her bosom, her head on her knee. Sing willow, willow, willow. The fresh streams ran by her and murmured her moans. Sing willow, willow, willow. Her salt tears fell from her and softened the stones. As with the song from Cymbeline, as with the song from Hamlet, as with the song from Othello, as so many of the songs from Shakespeare, the themes that are illustrated by the characters and events inside the little verse, what Shakespeare seems to have labeled as songs, illuminate for the thoughtful viewer or reader the ideas that are being lived through by the characters of those plays. I don't claim to have invented all of the techniques that I use in my form for the poetic novel, but I do claim to have understood many of the techniques that work so well for those who've written literature in the past. The anthem technical device is one that I've used in every novel and play since I first understood how it works to turn information into imagery, how it encourages a reader to think at a deeper level of potential understanding in an item of literature. So, this is my novel, L.M. Montgomery, I Gave You Life, a novel by John Passfield. It's found on Amazon, where there's more information. It's found on my publisher's website, roxmillspress.com. It's found, not the novel, but 2 books are found on my website, johnpassfield.ca. A planning notebook and a journal. 2 full books about my novel, L.M. Montgomery, I Gave You Life. So just click on the icons and you'll be able to read them. Lastly, I'll just say thank you for watching this video.